A very good morning to you and welcome to NTV Today on this 9th day of April 2019. My name is Edmond Nyabola, and for the next 2 hours we will be talking to our correspondents all across the country to get to understand what is going on within their regions as well as the national issues as well from here in Nairobi. And we will also be having our topic of the day, which is TVET reforms, technical and vocational education and training reforms that the government has put in place in the country to ensure that at least students who leave Form 4 and might not have had the chance to go to university then are trained in specific areas of work for them to be able to earn a living as they exit the training industry as well. Welcome to the show. Like I said, my name is Edmond Nyabola, and we are live from several locations this morning. In Murang'a, we have our correspondent there, Martin Mwaura, and in Kisumu, we have Oko Kusa, and in Malindi, Kevin Mutai, our coast reporter, is there for us. They're following up on the stories that are making headlines within those regions this morning. And let's start with one of them. Let's go to Murang'a first of all with Martin Mwaura. Martin, good morning. How is Murang'a this morning and what's going on there?
Yes, good morning, Edmond, from the studios. In Murang'a 021, it's a bright Tuesday morning. Now, Edmond, as you have said, yes, there are a series of stories that we are following up on, but I just want to give the viewer a small brief of what is happening in this county. Today morning, livestock traders based in Kegumo sub-county, or let me say Kegumo constituency, to be specific, Mudhithi market, which is the second largest livestock market in this county, took to the streets. The livestock traders who are complaining that the county government increased the cess without public participation. It was late last year, the county government came up with a plan to increase cess. That is from 30 shillings. If you're selling a cow, it was supposed to be, you're supposed to be selling 30 shillings. You're supposed to be giving 30 shillings to the county every day. But now it was increased to 70 shillings for every cow that is brought to the Mudhithi market. For the goats and sheep, it was supposed to be 20 shillings, but it was increased by 10 shillings. They are complaining that they were never consulted, and this is going to affect them economically. They are saying that some of them bring those cows there for a month, and those sheep and goats, they bring them there for a month without even getting a buyer. Now they are saying, calculating that every day you're bringing that cow or goat there for being told to pay 70 shillings or 30 shillings, it becomes a bit costly to them. So they're asking if the county can revert back to what they were selling, what they were giving, that is 30 shillings and 20 shillings. But if they're saying if the county does not revert back, they will be forced to be selling those cows and sheep and all the livestock along the road, because they think they cannot afford. It's going to affect them economically. That is one thing that we are following up on, and we'll just be getting to hear what the county government will have to say about this whole issue. You know, even the taxi drivers and even Murang'a actually motor vehicle owners complained that the parking bay was increased without consultation. It was from 50 shillings to 70 shillings. That is something that we'll be keeping tabs on. Something else that is happening is that, and it's very worrying, there has been an increase in cases of defilement in Murang'a, and it is something that is being done by close relatives. Now the administrators, they are asking the parents right now when the kids are on holiday to be very extra vigilant, just to ensure that it does not happen. Those are some of the issues that we'll be keeping tabs on. Back to you, Edmond.
Thank you so much, Martin Mwaura from Kigumo in Murang'a County, where he says livestock traders are demonstrating over prices of livestock down in that county. Let's now look at the issues around Kisumu County and Nyanza region at large. And Oko Kusa is there for us. Okusa, how is Kisumu this morning and what do you have for us?
Edmond, very sunny and warm, but we have two stories that we'll be following up. One I'll be following myself, and another one my colleague Doreen will be taking charge of. That is the ongoing biometric registration that is going on countrywide. In Kisumu, there was some hiccup last week with some of the devices, and therefore my colleague Doreen will be out there to find out if it was sorted out and how that process is getting along. Besides that, we also have a meeting of the National Taxpayers Association here in Kisumu. They'll be launching something called the Kisumu County Health Departmental Social Accountability Assessment Project. We are going to cover that launch for you and for our viewers in a short while, and thereafter, of course, they'll be having a media briefing just to explain to us what this is all about. So we'll be keeping tabs on that too. Two crucial stories there that will be following up this day, Edmond.
Thank you so much, Ouko Kusa, live from Kisumu, where he will be following up on the taxpayers meeting happening down at in Kisumu, I should say, in Nyanza region as well this morning. Let's go to Malindi in Kilifi County, where we have Kevin Mutai for us there. He's our coast reporter. Kevin, what's happening down there this morning?
Well, it is a beautiful and a sunny morning in Malindi, and we are coming to you live from Malindi town, the heart of the CBD. And we are here following up on various stories. Among them that is making the headlines are the flood victims of 2018. Remember, the government allocated 1 billion shillings to these victims, courtesy, the funds run by the Kenya Red Cross. But we toured some of the affected areas of Mapotea and Garashe, that is in Magarini constituency, and we found out that some of these victims are appealing on government for food items. It is a dire situation that they're saying. Most of them who were relocated to some other areas left most of their belongings, their farms and everything to the lowlands where the floods, the areas that were largely affected by the floods, and moved towards the uplands where they are currently reconstructing their houses. Remember, with the 1 billion shillings allocated to these victims by the government, each of the victims was given 25 bags of cement, 20 iron sheets, with of course a certain amount of money that will help them in reconstructing their houses. But some of them are still complaining that they have not been able to access these funds. Remember, the Kenya Red Cross in a certain location like Mapotea, we found over 3,000 victims, and out of them only 220 managed to get the funds. We asked the Red Cross officials, and they're saying that they only gave these particular funds to those people who were really affected and they had no alternative livelihoods. And out of the 200, there are still others who are living in certain, rather in conditions that are appealing to government and of course other agencies to run into their rescue. That particular region is dry, and residents are fearing that if the rains fail in this particular season, then of course the situation will be dire, and they're running out of food. And with some of them that we managed to interview yesterday, they told us that they live in, they eat once a day. That is a situation that, of course, is affecting the children, and especially those who are going to school. Some of them even complaining that they are lacking social amenities, such as proper sanitation, such as dispensaries. Some of them saying that they're forced to walk kilometers and kilometers away in search of these particular facilities. It is a situation that we are closely monitoring. Today we'll be going towards the other regions in Tana River County, which of course was also another county that was largely hit by floods in 2018, and we'll be speaking to residents just to get to know if at all they've benefited from the 1 billion shillings allocated by government to help them. Remember, that particular amount of money was on top of the budgeted 1.5 million that was in the budget to cater for the disaster management in the country, and it is the amount of money that was allocated and was supposed to serve all affected victims of floods across the country. But yesterday only we covered parts of Kilifi County, and we spoke to residents, and we will be continuing to get more details on what is happening. We're expecting the Kenya Red Cross Secretary General Abbas Gulet, who we are told that he'll be landing in Malindi at 10 minutes past 10, and of course we'll be able to get his view. I'm told that he'll be going around to monitor the exercise. According to some of the officials, they told us yesterday that they engaged members of the public, they engaged them in the public participation, they consulted with village elders, and that is how they managed to come up with a program and ways to compensate the victims. But we're still covering that for you, Edmond, and we'll be back with more details on the happenings on the ground. Back to you, Edmond Nyabola.
Thank you so much, Kevin Mutai, live from Malindi in Kilifi County, where he says 2018 flood victims are still appealing for help, this coming at a time when we expect a lot more rainfall in the next few weeks, if not days, according to the weatherman. Let's now go to Rongo, where Bernard Juang is live for us. Bernard, how is Rongo this morning, and what do you have for us?
Well, thank you very much, Edmond. We are here in Rongo. What's going on here is Huduma number registration. And of course, as you can see behind me, it is a process that is currently going on with people streaming slowly. It is all over, if I can tell you, in Migori County and also in Homa Bay County. Last week, when people went to register with Huduma number in Homa Bay County, they were turned back by the county commissioner, saying that the machines, the kits were not working properly. But of course, in Rongo today, we are at Juakali sector, where this program was brought here so that to ensure that people here register. The main problem with this initiative is many people still doesn't know the meaning of Huduma number, with many saying that the government could have done a lot of sensitization in enlightening the public on the benefits of Huduma number. You've also had a section of religious leaders criticizing it, saying that it is good, but they still do not know the meaning of this Huduma number. And we are going to talk to some of the people here who came to register. Joining me here, you came to register. Have you registered? And do you think the government has done enough, at least to enlighten Kenyans on the benefits of Huduma number?
Yeah, so far the government has done what is possible, and you know it is a continuous process. So the people we are continuously enlightening the people, we are sensitizing them, and the turn-up so far is not bad. The only weakness that we have as Kenyan is that normally we wait for the last minute to go and register. But we are encouraging our people to turn out, not to wait for the last day, so that the line will be so long that you get tired on the line. You should come out now when the number is not so huge, so that you register. And that's what I've come here, to register.
Do you think enough sensitization has been done, at least to enlighten these Kenyans on the benefits of Huduma number?
As a government, and we in Rongo sub-county, we have tried our best. We have sensitized the people, and we are continuing to sensitize them so that they turn up, and telling them the importance of the Huduma number.
Why do you think many people don't want to register with the Huduma number?
The problem, some of those who don't understand what actually the Bible is referring to are the people terming it as a satanic number. Because this idea comes from the book of Revelation. Personally, I'm a Christian. It comes from the book of Revelation, and that book talks of the number 666. And it is very clear that that number will be written in your forehead. It will be written in your right hand. The Huduma number we are not writing in your forehead. We are not writing in your forehand. Number two, our people should understand, as we talk now, you have, personally, I have an ID number, I have a personal employment number, I have NIF number, I have NSS number. So if somebody come now and want to put all these numbers to be in one, how does it now turn to be satanic? Well, when you have those numbers, your ID number, your employment number, your NSSF number, your NIF number, then those are not satanic. And instead, we normally get problem. If you lose your ID, for you to get another one, there's this question of your ID number and all of that. But now the government has come with a system that just with your thumb, all your details will come and you get what you want.
So what's your message to some section of religious leaders who are criticizing this?
Actually, I don't believe these are religious leaders, but these are just people purporting to be religious leaders, because I believe a religious leader should understand what the Bible is talking about. They should understand what the Bible refers to when it talks of having the number in your forehead.
Well, thank you very much. Edmond, you'll allow me to speak to the DEO who is in charge of this program here, Mokwa. Mokwa, join me here. You are here. Could you just tell us the progress so far since it started?
The progress in Rongo, we are doing very good, because at the moment we have registered 5,860 by yesterday. So given that you are now, this exercise mass registration is up to 45 days, then the exercise is continuously. So we think that we are doing very better, and the people in every day, they're learning and they're joining us in registration.
What are the challenges do you face now?
At the moment, we don't have any challenges because the registration assistants, they have learned how to use the kits, and the kids are now accepting them. They're learning every day how better they can do. So on the issue of the kits, we don't have any challenges.
People are talking about sensitization of people so that they know the benefits of this Huduma number. Do you have plans of talking to people to know the meaning of Huduma number?
We have exactly done sensitization. Even the Deputy County Commissioner Rongo went to the church in Irakwaro. He was there on Sunday. He's planning to go to the SCDA church. And today is also in Ramenyi radio. So we are doing sensitization in all ways possible. Right. Chiefs are on the ground doing sensitization, and the assistant chiefs are hitting the ground. So everything in the Huduma number is perfect.
Well, thank you very much. Edmond, you've just heard from the DEO and also some of the people who came here to register. And of course, you've just heard from them. They are saying that with them, personally, they know the meaning of Huduma number, but majority, they are at the machinery level, they still don't know. And they are saying that a lot needs to be done. And of course, you've just heard from the DO, they are saying that they have done enough. They are doing a lot of sensitization to ensure that each and every person is registered with Huduma number. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Bernardo Juang, live from Rongo, where it's the first week, exactly 1 week since the launch of the Huduma number registration, the mass biometric registration for the National Integrated Identity Management System. A lot of issues have been raised around this, and as Ojuang said there with the guests he spoke to, over 5,000 people have been registered in that part of the country. This is going on for a while. The court did suspend the issue of timelines. So initially the government was meant to do it for 45 days, but that has since been stopped, and it's gonna go on for quite some time, at least until the court finalizes its the petition before it. Let's go to Nyeri County now, where Melita Oletenges is live for us. Melita, good morning. How is Nyeri today?
Good morning to you, Edmond. Our focus today is on the corridors of justice, where there is supposed to be a bond hearing of a case that is about an officer, an administration police officer, who has been accused of murder. He appeared before court on the 29th of March, that is last month, and he was accused of murder, and he was charged before Judge Jairus Nga here at the Nyeri Law Court. So today, Edmond, there will be a bond hearing pertaining that particular case, and we will be moving that direction in a few minutes' time. Remember, the events preceding this particular court case is that sometimes last year, on the 29th of September to be precise, this particular officer, Martin Thumbi, is said to have reported to Karatina police station that his farmhand had defiled his daughter, and therefore he was attacked by a mob, and then the farmhand was rushed to a hospital in Karatina, and thereafter succumbed to the injuries. But the investigations officer since then had made their investigations concerning this particular case, and the investigations found that Martin Thumbi had a case to answer in a court of law, and therefore he was arraigned before the Nyeri Law Courts before Judge Jairus Nga on the 29th of March, and he appeared again on the 5th of April, that is last week, and he took plea saying he is not guilty, and therefore he was expected to remain in custody, in remand at the Kingongo Maximum Prison, that is at the outskirts of Nyeri. So this is a case that we will be keeping our eyes on, just to know how this will unfold, and the details surrounding this particular case. Of course, we have been able to get exclusive information from the investigations officer saying that they are going to ensure that the suspect is not going to come out on bond terms, because they're saying that he may abscond the court sessions, or even he will attempt to even threaten the witnesses not to appear before court. So, Edmond, this is a case that we'll be following up on today. And of course, also there is the issue of biometric registration. Earlier on, We had the regional commissioner of Central Region, Wilfred Nyagangwa, who said that the Central Region is aiming to register about 7 million residents. And of course, there are those issues that have been raised by my colleague Bernardo Juang, also being indicated here in Nyeri. People are not sure what this Huduma number is all about, and the government, the national government, in conjunction with the county government, have moved in to conduct a sensitization exercise just to make sure that residents here get to understand what this Huduma number will serve and what significance it is for them. So aside from that, also we have just received reports of a man who was allegedly committed suicide in Kirinyaga over domestic wrangles. So we are still trying to get these details, finer details on this particular matter, and we will be able to inform our viewers as it unfolds. But for now, over to you, Edmond.
Thank you so much, Melita Oletenges, live from Nyeri, just talking to us about the issues from that part of the country. Our correspondents and reporters across the country are working on those stories, and we'll have them going forward in our subsequent bulletins. But let's have a look at some stories making headlines from yesterday, and we'll go on to today. A group of 5 men has been practicing and had even perfected the art of impersonation, but yesterday their con game caught up with them. 3 of the gang of 5 were shot dead by detectives after the public complained of harassment. The men have been impersonating police officers along major roads.
The impersonators certainly looked the part as they acted out their role, donning traffic police officer uniforms, topped with a policeman's hat and even a pistol. The men would allegedly handcuff their victims before stealing their vehicles. According to the DCI, detectives who acted after complaints by previous victims ordered the men to surrender along the Machakos-Kitui Road, but they opened fire on the officers. The detectives, however, gunned down 3 of the men and recovered ammunition, stolen vehicles, and rescued a handcuffed victim. 2 gang members managed to escape, and a manhunt is on to find them.
Now, Hilary Mutyambai takes over as the Inspector General of Police to what Chief Justice David Maraga describes as a grueling responsibility. He comes into office at a time when the discovery of thousands of ghost workers show just how deeply embedded corruption remains in the National Police Service. Mutyambai is also tasked with carrying forward the reforms initiated during his predecessor's term.
Hilary Mutyambai can only hope that in 4 years' time, he receives the same honor and does not find himself sneaking out the back door. The first Inspector General of Police, David Kimayo, bowed out of office prematurely, with a cloud of a poorly managed Westgate attack response hanging over him. Given Mutyambai's intelligence background, the consensus appears to be that there couldn't be a man better suited for the job.
You came highly recommended. As a former policeman, I won't call you a former policeman, I'll call you as a person who has grown up in the service, but who has also had the opportunity and exposure in other security-related departments.
Mutyambai has to deal with what is arguably the enemy within. The recently concluded biometric registration of police revealed that over R1 billion in taxpayer money was lost annually as pay for non-existent officers, 2,648 ghost workers to be exact.
As I assume the office of the Inspector General, I am conversant with the security threats our country still faces, especially the threat of terrorism, organized crime, corruption, cattle rustling, among others.
Mutyambai is also tasked with carrying forward the reforms and reorganization overseen by President Kenyatta in the interest of a smoother, more transparent operation.
You know fully well we're in a process of both transition and reform in order to ensure that we are truly going to have a service ile abide by your motto of utumishi kwa wote.
I'll be keen to implement the National Police Service Information Management System which digitizes the occurrence book and the case file management system. This will enable members of the public to track the process of their complaints and enable them give us feedback and compliments.
Muchembai has also cast himself as a fierce advocate of those in his ranks, vowing to see a National Police Service Referral Hospital realized, as well as the overdue promotions awarded and the right to dignified housing met.
Police officers have the rights too, which must be respected. I will stand by officers who discharge their duties firmly and fairly, without fear, favor, or ill will, but will equally deal with those who abuse police powers and privileges.
It is my prayer that the Lord will give you the strength and the health and the wisdom to discharge the functions of your office.
Olive Barrows, NTV.
Now, the government's National Crime Research Center now says bodas are a national security threat as they have been directly linked to a number of crimes and accidents that have caused death and untold anguish. The government says they are the killers on wheels, taking lives through recklessness and disregard for rules. NTV's Seth Olale sifts through the findings provided, by the state agency and the two-wheeler killers.
This chilling video footage of 5 armed suspects robbing a woman outside an M-Pesa outlet just 2 weeks ago in Mombasa is just a snapshot of a bigger, grim picture of just how the two-wheelers facilitate crime in the country. A report by the National Crimes Research Center on the boda motorcycle transport and security situation in the country paints an even more bleak picture. It directly links the boda transport subsector to crimes committed at various locations in the country.
This thing was introduced for good reasons, to help our young people who are unemployed. And we want to support them. I want them to know across the country, boda riders, that in us, they are very strong supporters on one condition, that they operate in an orderly manner and that they follow the law and guidelines that we shall give at the end of the work of that task force. Otherwise, we are going to surrender ourselves to untold anarchy and chaos that we can't deal with.
According to the report, the bodas are mainly death traps, causing deaths and injuries due to reckless and dangerous riding.
Nilikuwa nimefika kando ya barabara. Saa kidogo pikipiki kanigonga. Nikaanguka. Saa na sikuona kitu kingine tena.
The riders are also involved in a number of crimes that have resulted in death, including theft, assault, robbery with violence, kidnappings and abductions, murder and rape. The riders are the main perpetrators of these crimes, but their passengers also play a significant part in their commission. The study that was done in 2018 blames unemployment, poverty, drug and substance abuse for the spike in the number of boda-related crimes.
There are no two ways about it. We have to change the way in which we operate. And I do this with conviction, that there is nothing we cannot do as a people once we have resolved that this is how we are going to do it right.
But apart from the deaths they cause and the broken lives they leave behind, they are also blamed for loss of property, insecurity, an increase in the number of cases of teen moms and school dropouts. The state agency recommends a mandatory registration and training for all boda operators, including setting up training schools. It also calls for a strict enforcement of government policy and rules. Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i has ruled out any extension for the implementation of the boda guidelines and reforms set to be effected on May 1st, 2019. A state agency in the same ministry cautions that the situation could explode out of control if regulations are not put in place in order to weed out criminals hiding in the boda subsector. Seth Olale, NTV, Nairobi.
And finally, to a story that personifies the true scale of devastation that road accidents cause. Joseph Wambua and his wife, Catherine Wambua, were among 7 people who lost their lives after the vehicle they were traveling in was involved in an accident in Kitui County. The accident has now robbed a family of the head as the couple left behind 4 children. NTV's Sharon Baranga has that story.
At the home of the late Joseph Wambua and his wife Catherine Wambua in Kayole Estate, Nairobi, the atmosphere is that of solemn reflection. The cruel sting of death has left this family distraught. The 4 children now sit among the sea of distraught neighbors here to console them after their father and mother died in a road accident.
Wakienda walikuwa wametuambia watarudi jana usiku, Sunday usiku. Juadi walikuwa wamebeba funguo za gate. Mara ya kwanza nilikuwa nadhani ni mamangu amekufa pekee. But nikamwona ni wote.
Joseph Wambua and his wife were among 7 people who lost their lives after a 14-seater matatu they were traveling in was involved in an accident at Ikutha town along the Kitui-Kibwezi Road in Kitui County. This, the grim and cruel legacy of road carnage that continues to tear families apart.
Na venye ilifika kwa hiyo soko iko karibu na nyumbani, ilianguka, ikaroll 4 times, ikaua.
The couple were pastors at the Glory Celebration Center in Kayole. A majority of those affected by the accident were members of the church who had traveled to Ikutha for a dowry payment ceremony for the pastor's niece. It was to be the beginning of another chapter for their loved one, but that meant an end to their own. 8 people are currently receiving treatment at the Ikutha Level 4 Hospital and the Kitui County Referral Hospital. 2 people succumbed while undergoing treatment. Sharon Baranga, NTV.
All right, let's now shift focus to our discussion of the day. We are talking about TVET reforms, technical and vocational education and training in Kenya. The government says it has invested a lot in this sector to ensure that Kenyans who do not attain the required marks for joining university are at least trained within these technical and vocational institutions for them to be able to learn some skills to then put to use at work and perhaps within their own forms of employment, whether personal employment or whatever the case that is. And I'm joined in studio right now by 4 gentlemen. To the farthest is Mr. Dr. Kevit Desai, who is the Principal Secretary in the State Department for Vocational and Technical Training, joining us today on behalf of the government. We have in the middle Professor Stephen Ondieki, who is the Chairman of the TVET Certification Council. There has been a lot of issues around curriculum development and, changing it to suit the market needs. He'll be talking to us about that. Then we have Japhet Mwanzia, who is a former student, actually an alumni of the Nairobi Technical Training Institute. He studied automotive engineering, also to talk to us about the experience of the students in these institutions. And to my left is Frederick Obiero, who is an automotive engineering trainer at Rift Valley Technical Training Institute in Eldoret. Welcome, gentlemen. Let me start with you, Bona PS. The Deputy President is on record as saying that since 2013, when the Jubilee government came to power, they have invested a lot in technical and vocational training institutions by building capacity and infrastructure as well. What is the extent of this investment, do you think?
It's been considerable in view of the importance of technical vocational training to Kenya's development agenda, socially, economically, and environmentally, and primarily because technical vocational training is a great enabler, a key component, a key pivot towards the development agenda, whether it's the Big Four, the transition of our micro, small, medium enterprise sector into highly competitive and productive sectors, as well as the promotion of self-employment and gainful employment of our youth. The investment to date has been on infrastructure. We have 140 institutions that have been created and established, upgraded with the necessary equipment and technology. This investment has also included greater train-the-trainer capacity. To date, Today we are in the process of hiring 2,000 more trainers, addressing an acute shortage of trainers within our institutions, and the necessary welfare programs and incentives that transform a trainer to be more like a coach or a supervisor, in that they're able to not only promote skills and promote upskilling, but they're also able to create new enterprise and incubate enterprise and provide consultancy and provide solutions for productivity, innovation and efficiency to our industry. The investment has also included capitation as well as bursary schemes, thereby promoting greater access and equity to young people. I'm delighted to tell you that we have an enrollment to date of 190,000 students in our institutions.
Is that the highest we've had in the country?
Yes, it's the highest, and it's a 130% increase over last year. But we look forward to a lot more. We look forward to, by the end of next year, 400,000 and onwards to 1 million, primarily because a country needs 10% of its population enrolled in TVET in order to create the necessary bedrock of artisans, craftsmen, master craftsmen, technicians, and technologists. All of this has been an investment that promotes a return of investment with respect to productivity, innovation, and efficiency for our country.
All right, Professor Stephen, it's not just, sorry, Professor Charles Ondieki, beg your pardon. It's not just investment in infrastructure, all right? You are also talking about curriculum development so that you suit the training to what is needed in the job market at this point in time. What have you done as the TVET Certification Council to ensure that at least you develop something that is specific to the job market requirements?
Thank you, Edmond. I think maybe I will start from the beginning.
Yes.
Where in this country, what we have been having and what's going on is what we call the traditional curriculum, which is mainly developed by Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. And this curriculum development, the graduates do not satisfy the employers in terms of the skills that come out of it. So the government found that we need to change so that what we train, the people who come out have got the necessary the skills that the employers require. And these skills will be more productive. Instead of the company, after employing someone, to spend a lot of money again to train of what they want, we need to shift it, the training itself to be in the training institutions. And that's why we have changed from the traditional curriculum development into the competency-based education and the training approach. Now, here, the competency in the sense that when you train someone, the person should have the knowledge, the skills, and the attitude that is necessary for that person to perform at the workplace. Now, that is why the government changed, and we moved away from the traditional to the present situation where we are developing the competency-based curriculum. At the moment, we have, up to now, we have already developed more than 202 curriculum. In fact, we have covered almost all the curriculum that were being offered at the TVET institutions. And what we are now even doing is to prepare the trainers to be able to train and assess the students. Now, we have what we embarked on is first exercise we did was to develop a course for the trainers to know about what is this CBET, or competency-based education and training. And we did that, we trained over 2,500.
Yes.
Then later, we had to start now training specifically for assessment, because assessment is the key in terms of competency-based curriculum. And we have already, up to now, we have trained more than 1,000 assessors and verifiers. I will explain exactly what the meaning of assessors and verifiers are, okay, later. Now, after that, we realized that to be train all these people all over the country, it will take a very long time. So what we have done, we have trained 350 trainers of trainer. These 350 people are going to train others. And in this month of April, we are going to train over 4,000 trainers.
All right.
By the end of that, there will be no institution which will claim they don't have anybody who can train and assess the students.
All right, Professor Charles, we'll come back to that in terms of the training and the capacity building that you've had to do. Let's talk to a trainer who works with RVTTI Eldoret, Frederick Obiero. They've, of course, revised the curriculum, as he says. And you, as a trainer, what are some of the changes and the differences you've seen from how you trained before and how you do it right now in terms of what the government has been able to do?
Oh, thank you. Just like the Prof said,
yes,
I also went through the training, and you find that we have the curriculum that we are using, and in fact it's still going on. It's coming from the KICD, and we say that the standards are being made by the teachers, because the teachers are the ones who are in the KICD. But right now we find that we collaborate with the industry. Now, like us, we have a collaboration with the Toyota Kenya as an institution. We have signed an MOU, which was done late February, I think so. And there are so many benefits that we are getting from Toyota Kenya, and which is also, it's also flowing towards the other activity institutions through the PS. And even I think on 26th, between 26th and 29th of March, we went, the instructors of the TVET institutions were in Toyota Kenya for training and seminar. And I think that is a good approach to this CBET training.
All right.
Yeah.
Japhet, as an alumni or someone who's gone through this process, would you say your experience there was beneficial in terms of, being taught the skills and you being able to experience them in practice?
Yeah, automatically.
Okay. How was the experience for you in training there?
Quite fantastic, quite nice.
Sorry?
It's quite okay.
It was quite okay for you?
Yeah.
So did you acquire the skills that you required at the end of the day that you're able to put into practice at work at this moment in time?
60% of what I practice day by day, I acquired it from Nairobi Technical Training Institute.
And you use it right now at work?
I use it right now. I have developed.
Yeah.
I improve day by day. You read online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What form of training did you go through as a student there? You graduated with a certificate in automotive engineering, really. What was the experience for you? What did you do on a daily basis aside from the theory work?
Theory work?
Yeah.
It was about the motor vehicle industry.
Okay, so did you actually have the time and the experience of working with a motor vehicle at the institution?
Yeah, I had an experience. Okay. The school was quite equipped, so I could acquire the knowledge. Then I went straight away to job.
All right.
Yeah.
But P.S., the last time you were here, you were, I think, preparing for a career fair of some sort, and that's where you're going to be talking to prospective students about what you have and the changes that you've made that you're talking about now. Was that beneficial in any way? Did you see an increase in uptake or interest from students?
Yes, as part of the national investment to the transformation of technical vocational training, the two challenges have always been, how do we ensure that young children, from the onset of their programs, whether they're in primary school or high school or have completed their education, understand and appreciate what goes on in industry and what are the processes and what does industry require in terms of those skills, technical, attitudinal, life skills, cultural values, national values, and so on. And the other most important aspect is, how do we ensure that private sector in a creative way introduces its transformation, its innovation, its business models, its processes to the youth. And such an event then brought about that innovation. It brought the private sector to demonstrate what goes on in their factories and their service organizations, and for young people to imagine that truly them being gifted naturally with curiosity, creativity, and resourcefulness and energy could have a direct alignment of value, purpose, and hope in such structures. And this event effectively did this. And it's part of the challenges we face nationally today towards reform. It's to address aspects of the stigma, the importance of technical vocational training, especially in its importance to being a game changer. The big idea to link standards, as my colleagues have said, to outcomes of productivity, innovation, and efficiency. The new national system of competency-based education training, at its lifeblood, is all about achieving standards. The ability to repair a vehicle or a brake system of a vehicle to the necessary manufacturer standard. The ability to create hospitality and industry to a standard of health care, as well as occupational standards that are integrated in this. All of this then relates to competitiveness. It relates to us being internationally competitive, a young person being able to find a job and being gainfully employed, or creating opportunities, a welder being able to weld to international standards. And standards, therefore, are central to what we do, central towards how we train, and these standards are then verified using assessment, which means that we're breaking away from the past where it's a theoretical exam to a present where industry, side by side, the trainer, assesses the student and verifies that the standards in terms of health, technical, attitudinal skills, life skills are met before the trainee is either passed or retrained. Such is the determination to ensure that we get the absolute transformation and the best possible prospect for our youth.
You said there are 140 institutions right now. Are all these initiated and run by government, or do you have partnerships with, say, county governments, constituency, members of parliament, building some of these institutions within their own areas of jurisdiction, and then you register them as well?
Yes, those institutions, 140, are by law each TVC per constituency. We have an additional 11 polytechnics, 11 science technology institutes, 4 special needs institutions, and approximately 900 institutions of vocational training in the county. Those are managed by the county, but ultimately the quality assurance and the accreditation and the development is achieved by the national government. We have released approximately 2 billion in conditional grants, but with a view of seeing to it that they appropriately develop their competencies and capacities to fit into our value chain, starting from artisan, that they would specialize in, and craftsmen, and we would go on to do the master craftsman, technician, and technologist level throughout the value chain of skills development.
All right. Just hold on. Let's take a break. We will be back with this discussion to just get to understand what the government has been doing in terms of reforming the technical, vocational and education training institutions within the country, and what you can do as someone who maybe wants to join some of these institutions and are thinking about what this would do to you, what kind of training you will be put through, and all of that as we come back within the next hour. Don't go too far. Welcome back to NTV Today. I'm still here with my panel. We are discussing the technical, vocational and education training institutions and reforms in the country. The government has invested quite a lot in terms of just building infrastructure and capacity and making sure that Kenyans would at least want to enroll in these institutions have the opportunity to do so. I'm still here with my guests. Let me come to you, Professor Charles. You are talking about the competency-based education and training, all right, where you develop a curriculum that actually works for what the market needs.
Yeah.
But a lot of young people think university is more lucrative than, say, a technical or vocational training institution. And I'm sure this is something you've had in the past. But let's be honest. I went through a university system, and to a certain degree, you might not get the actual experience in terms of, doing the handiwork that is required of you during that training process as much as you might get within a technical and vocational training.
Thank you. I think you are right. What happened is, for a very long time, people have come to realize, or they according to them, is that university was the climax, was the best. But then as the years go by, they have realized it's not. Because one is that the people who finish from the university, and I'll give you an example of an engineer. Myself, I'm an engineer. You find someone is a mechanical engineer and goes out, or a motor vehicle for that matter specifically, and cannot even repair. And he has his own car, it breaks down, he will look for a mechanic. I have myself asked one of the engineers, between you and the mechanic, who is the engineer? Who is the actual engineer now? Is it you or, because you are theoretical, but the mechanic, he has got a little knowledge which he uses. And the skills. That is what it is. We don't want to produce anybody goes out there without having known what to do. In other words, what you are saying, it's not enough to explain to us what you can do, but we want you to demonstrate that this is exactly what it is. Now, the question, I will come back to the competency because there is a process. One is that we are involving, as the PS said, the industry. In fact, the industry is the key. How do we involve them? We develop our curriculum using occupational standard. These occupational standards are the occupations that are being done in the industry, the respective industry. So we have to have the industry being involved from day one to the end.
All right, so you involved the industry and some of these, potential employers, say in manufacturing and industries and all of them when you are developing this curriculum.
That's right. If we are developing a course for maybe welding, there are employers who are dealing with the business of welding. They are the people qualified to tell us this is what we require, this is what we want a person to be. So that we also form, because you cannot involve all the employers, but they choose people who can be representative. And this one, they form what we call Sector Skills Advisory Committee, who work with the TVET Certification Council to develop the occupational standard, which later on we use to develop a curriculum by what we interpret the occupational standard into learning outcomes. And then we go further. We develop assessment tools because we want to know, the employer will tell us, when we want this person, he should have been assessed on A, B, C, D. So we develop with them.
Based on what the industry wants.
And we write down. So that this assessment, even if you did it in Kisumu and someone else did in Mombasa, it will be the same because the tools are using are the same. So that when they pass, they know they have passed a certain standard which has been set. Let's say welding, there are various standards. So that all of them will be equal. And again, I mentioned about assessors, because this is very crucial. The assessors, they must be trained properly. They are the people to actually acknowledge that this particular graduate is qualified to be given a certificate in this course at that level. And we have also something else we call a verifier, because in our assessment, there are 4 levels. The first level is the trainer, who is what we call the internal assessor, who is assessing the student on a daily basis. And then there is also now the verifier. A verifier are two, the internal verifier and the external verifier. The internal verifier is actually a senior member of staff in that institution
yes,
who can verify that what has been done is true, is correct. Then we have also now external verifier, who is the final person and who comes from industry.
Okay.
And it's the one to come and say, yes, this person qualifies to work in our industry.
Yes. So by the time you actually come out of these institutions, and you are really
you have the actual
for the industry that's that you require to work for.
And that's why we ensure that you have the necessary skills and the knowledge. But there is also another issue which we have not even stressed, attitude. We have realized, even in your place here, that someone can have all the knowledge and all the skills.
Yes.
But the attitude towards work is very poor. The relationship with him and her, with the other workers is very poor.
Okay.
To understand, to take instructions. These are which we're putting in what we call soft skills.
All right.
Very important. Yeah.
All right. Mr. Frederick, let me get this right. Is your institution partnered with one of the industry players, the Rift Valley Technical Training Institute? Is that Toyota Kenya?
Yeah, we're partnered with Toyota Kenya.
So what is the partnership like with Toyota Kenya, and then how do you train your students with these car manufacturers and all of that? And then how is the process really for you in terms of training in partnership with Toyota Kenya?
Yeah, thank you. We signed the MOU just in February. And we've already started that, as I said. We, the trainers and trainers of other TVET institutions, were called in for a seminar. And we were called in at the academy, the Toyota Academy, where they do the training. We're under the technical training manager. And it took us through what we should do or how we should be training our students.
Yes.
We normally train though, but now he's telling us what do they expect us to do. What do we expect? What do they expect our trainers to have and how to do it?
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that Toyota Kenya in the MOU was saying is that they are providing opportunities to graduates of RVTTI so that they can enhance their competencies. Yeah. In servicing and maintenance of motor vehicles, not only Toyota motor vehicles, but many other vehicles that we have. There is also scholarships. They'll provide scholarships to needy students who will attain the level that they want, because they have certain levels. There's also the issue of internship. After graduating, you can go in and have a 1 year. You go and stay there for 1 year, they pay you while you learn more. Then there's also the continuous professional development of trainers and technicians, because you don't need to come to Nairobi. We have a branch already in Eldoret, and there are branches all over all over the country. So that happens, we have the attachment of students.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have that. Then also, we talk about they provide technical support, knowledge and skills through donation of parts. Where they have parts that we need to use to train. See that? So they can donate the parts, and also we have what we call
this happens within the institution, or do you have to go to Mombasa Road or say where they've set up for that to happen? Do they bring those parts and all those the equipment that you require within the institutions?
Yeah, they bring them within so that we use them to train our students.
All right.
But other training, sometimes you can come to Nairobi if there's some new technologies, those that you can
partner with them. Yeah. Japheth, the PS was saying, and Professor Charles, that the technical and vocational kind of training is continuous, and that even for someone who's attained a PhD right now might still go back to some of these institutions to learn other skills and improve their skills and all of that. As someone who's graduated and you've entered the job market, do you think then there's, out of your experience, a more need for you to go back into the institutions and train a bit further and maybe gain a higher certification and all those things?
Yes, of course. You need to get more trained, as you also learn through online, because the system changes every day.
Okay.
You understand?
Yes.
Yeah. Every day we have new system in the market. So you have to keep on
technology is
learning.
changing very fast.
Yeah.
All right. PS, the issue of capitation, and for most students who perhaps have not attained university grade, and some that have actually attained university grades, education and especially, you know, from after you've, you know, done your KCSE and now you're going into these institutions, it's, in most cases, it's actually really expensive for most people. A lot of people cannot afford or might have attained some of these grades that you are looking at. What has government done through this capitation policy to ensure that at least those who want to find it a bit, you know, cheap and affordable for them to be able to train within the
Government's policy on technical vocational training is all about access and equity, which means that, you know, we need to ensure that young people are able to access technical vocational training throughout their life, that they're able to, their productive life is partnered with promoting access to technical vocational training institutions and courses and certificates, primarily because this is the greatest empowerment that a person requires. And in today's world, where skills and competencies are expected to be dynamic, flexible, and problem-solving in nature, it's important to keep going back to technical vocational training institutions to keep upgrading your skills. The capitation and the HELB loans are primarily for this purpose, that students, irrespective of the high grades that are required to go to university, have a chance to participate in technical vocational training institutions. And it's also to ensure that we're able to bring about the necessary equity from low-income families as well as special needs students to access TVET.
So what is the standard fee required for some of these courses that you have? Give me a range, and then out of that, how much is government investing for each student who then is willing to join and might not have the fee?
So we, as part of our reforms, the overall cost of technical vocational training in our national system, our public institutions, has dropped, has been reduced from 97,000 to approximately 70,000.
So that's certificate, diploma?
Yes, certificate and diploma. That's a yearly fee.
Okay.
And part of it's capitation and part of it is loan.
Okay.
And this then enables a young person to have the adequate resources to go to school. Part of it's also a stipend in consideration of the fact that they may need some money to make.
Are you able to break down the numbers in terms of how much is loan, how much is
Yes.
stipend? And all
So
that?
we have approximately 30,000 being the loan, and 40,000 being the loan, and 35,000 being the bursary, and then the rest being a stipend.
Ah, all right. Yeah. That's quite encouraging for some of the students. Professor, we are talking about the Big Four. One of the issues around the Big Four is manufacturing, of course, and you are at the center of this specific industry, manufacturing industry, because you're the ones who actually train the people who do the actual work, the handiwork, all right?
Yes.
How is your curriculum and your training in general joined to the Big Four agenda of manufacturing?
Let me start with the way they work out the curriculum so that it's favorable with the Big Four. First, our curriculum are developed in terms of units. Now, why do I say unit? Is that a course, a full course maybe you have gone through in university takes maybe 3 or 4 years.
Yes.
Now, but inside there are various items you do, what you can call unit. A unit will be a complete. Let's say someone doing food technology. Food technology, making yogurt will be an example of a unit, which will be part of food technology.
Yes.
But with us, we are broken down into all those so that someone can come and do only yogurt, go out, work, and come back and do another maybe cake making. And so
Specialization, you mean?
Yes, you can come and specialize.
Okay.
So that there's no question of staying in the college for too long. You can stay what you want, you finish it. And the Big Four require skills, specific skills. So if it is manufacturing, there could be welding. And not the entire welding, there could be gas welding. That's a unit.
Right.
Or arc welding. That's it. So we can train people on that because we have developed our courses in such a way that there are those units. People can come with whole class, be trained Within a very short time, 3 months, they go out. At the moment, like in the food technology, that is under agriculture, we have developed more than 30 courses, competency-based in agriculture.
Okay.
Then we have developed more than 20 in manufacturing.
Yes.
And when it comes to medical, which we have finished recently, more than 15 of them, all areas we have touched. So there is no question that people don't have the capacity. And what we are also in general doing with the principle of competency-based programs is that we can assess the people in the Chuakari so that they can be involved, like the president was saying, in the housing, they can make the parts which will be required.
All right.
So they can be trained on only small pits.
All right, and that then makes it very specific for the training needs that are required. The
that's
PS wanted to interject and say something about this. You as a government official, of course, are the ones who are expected to drive the Big Four agenda, and specifically manufacturing for your case in this. What do you like to say about that?
The Big Four agenda is highly inclusive towards addressing the need to achieving prosperity for all. It's an inclusive system. It promotes, on one hand, the inclusion of the micro, small, medium enterprise sector. On the other hand, the opportunity we have as a nation to include our youth, their curiosity, their creativity, their resourcefulness. Our agenda and our strategy as government is to ensure that we focus on value chains. If it's, for example, the agricultural sector, from the skills and competencies required to produce more, to be more productive, to be more innovative, to be more efficient in the production stage, and into the processing stage. So if it's agricultural food, it's from seed to fork. If it's textiles, seed to fashion, all the skills and competencies, whether they're multiplier or technical, like marketing, etc., and so on, management and so on, are all inclusive of the TVET reform agenda.
Okay.
The potential of our manufacturing sector being jump-started primarily is closely related to productivity, innovation, and efficiency. Competency-based education training has a direct alignment to this, and therefore has a direct alignment to the GDP. The ambition to promote 15% increase in our GDP with manufacturing is realizable by the investment we put in technical vocational training. But it's the same for healthcare, nursing skills, skills that are required on a technical basis, the operations of machinery and so on, and technology. These need to be far more productive and innovative. So the focus is to create centers of excellence, whether it's in the housing sector, where we're able to ensure that we create alignment of our existing MSME sector to the inputs of the housing sector, or it's the value chains that promote food security and thereby bring about a transformation of not only skills and competencies, but also the management of a farm, the promotion of what we have in terms of our local resources and national resources to be amplified into greater levels of intrinsic value in the entire process. And this is being done through an approach called the Centers of Excellence, where we look at the entire value chain and we map out the necessary skills, and we're able to then train throughout that value chain and ensure that it provides the greatest level of access to young people.
Actually at the center of the manufacturing agenda of the Big Four, what the government calls the Big Four agenda right now. And that's why, that would explain actually why the investment is very heavy towards this. Mwalimu Obiero, we've had students who've attained the C+ and above grades are required for them to join universities, but still prefer to come to technical and vocational training institutions, all right? And as a trainer, why do you think then going through technical and vocational training institutions is better for a student who's attained, say, a B or whatever grade there is, as opposed to going to traditional universities, the ones we are used to?
Thank you. Now, this issue comes when, we have a case in RVTTI when a student was, they came for this Wings to Fly. They're supposed to go to university.
Yes.
But the lady said she's not going to university. She's going to stay at RVTTI so that she can do her architectural, it was architecture drawing, something like that.
Yes. Why?
Yeah, because
what was her reasoning?
Yeah, she looked at how we were training, because she went through to the classes and I think she was encouraged, and I think somebody talked to him And then she opted to stay at RBTI so that she can continue. And as the normal cases, you can go through the system and attain until you go to the, later on go and get the degree as Prof. said.
Yes. One of the major reasons why someone, even in future, they are going to go to TVET is that because we have made it flexible. The CBET programs are flexible. You see, in the university, if you go for 5 years as engineering or 4 years when a degree, if you failed the last year, you are a Form 4, basically, because you have failed. You don't have anything. That cannot happen in TVET. If you finish, by the time you finish even 3 years, you must have got several certificates in terms of unit. Remember I talked about unit?
Yes.
The courses have been divided. There are levels. In fact, we have level 1 up to level 6, up to the total level up to 4, up to university is 10. So all these levels, someone will come and learn and reach somewhere and decide to make money. And come back and continue. Because there's no way someone from a TVET institution can finish without having something, without having a certificate to be employed. And not only that, not just employment, because CBET programs are meant for 3 things, which we should know. There is for employment, to be employed by someone, for self-employment, yes. That's very key, very, very important, and for upward mobility. One who wants to go from diploma to degree can go. So those are very, in fact, people who have joined the TVET institutions and they have finished degrees, a diploma, they join 3 degrees because we have already developed that. They join and they can finish with those one who finish with them and Form 4. So there is no disadvantage. In fact, there is more advantage in going to TVET institution than going to universities.
Let me come to you, Japhet. It's still on this issue of advising someone perhaps who've attained a degree to go to university, who is able to. Would you tell them between a university kind of setup and a technical and vocational training kind of setup, having that experience, do you think then it is good for someone who has attained that grade to start from at least a technical and vocational training and then grow upwards if it is in areas of, say, automotive engineering and all those other areas that they focus on in these institutions?
Yeah, because when you start with those technical schools, you'll get trained, you learn, you get trained, and you have skills.
Okay.
And it is in universities, I think you can get trained, but you don't have skills.
At the end of the day, yes.
So that's why I prefer going to technical schools, then you develop from there.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes. PS, let's talk about placement. You have a partnership with Toyota Kenya in some of your institutions, and like you said, you're able to get internships and all of that. But the number of students you're churning out is very high. Not all of them are going to fit at, say, Toyota Kenya. Is the government and your department doing anything in terms of placement for some of your graduates to be able to be fitted into specific areas of their training, 1? And 2, what is the importance of this on self-employment? Because we are talking about high, rates of unemployment within the country among the youth. What is the importance of this kind of training on self-employment?
Right. And so government's policy is all about trying to see to it that we, within our systems of infrastructure, equipment, train-the-trainer programs, our accreditation and quality assurance systems are all dedicated to ensuring that we promote the highest level of competencies and capacities. This would in turn promote the highest level of chance for and prospect for a young person to be gainfully or self-employed. Further to that, we are seeking the support of all stakeholders. First and foremost, it's at county level, where as much as the government is putting effort and emphasis on capacity development in technical vocational training, the aspects of opportunity have to be a collective responsibility. Yes. If there's an infrastructure project in a county, then it has to be closely linked to a TVET institution. If there's ongoing programs in terms of the development of the MSME sector, those could be linked to technical vocational training institutions. This has to be an affirmative action by all. The industry in itself is being encouraged to participate in view of the fact that they need to consider our efforts as government as an investment, a big-time investment in their productivity, innovation, and efficiency, which ultimately would lead to their transformation and profitability. With that in mind, industry has to play a much affirmative role. They need to be involved in not only the relevance and quality of curriculum, the potential and the feedback that's required in order to ensure that we have absolute alignment with their requirements. They have to be involved in ensuring that the equipment is appropriate and certain other equipments be catered for. The possibility of apprenticeship and work-integrated learning programs that would see to it that the transition from training to self-employment and gainful employment is complete. And this would then create the necessary volumes of skilled and competent people that would be truly transformative to their industry and have a direct link to their further investment within the industry. So we need to turn this entire mindset around to a value proposition mindset.
Yes.
But in order for a value proposition outcome to be achieved, we need to all work together. The aspects of civil society, and in particular also awareness creation systems, which include media too, the importance of creating a national debate on aspects of access, equity, quality, and relevance, so that reforms take place and that the entire national system is highly responsive, dynamic, and flexible. And finally, the skilled people. They're those who are professionally skilled within industry today, within society. Within the national framework of competency-based education training, they could also spend a little bit of their time to ensuring that they transfer skills to students. And it could also be in the form of them being on the boards of these institutions to set the right pace in governance, fiduciary responsibilities, and the transformation of industry. So the effort is collective to the extent that it's an ecosystem that promotes outcomes of placement into self-employment and gainful employment. And this entire national system is based on a legislation which for the first time promotes that inclusivity. So it's not supply-driven, but it's co-creation, its ability to co-create the next generation of opportunity for our young youth.
What are the numbers like in terms of, you have stressed this really, students who've attained that grade of C+ and above and then opt then to join technical and vocational training institutions. What are the numbers according to your last registration or enrollment?
Well, those that have, there's been a substantial increase. We had approximately 170 students who had attained higher grades academically but decided to enroll in TVET training institutions. This, of course, is growing as students realize that they need to be mentored and appreciate what they are very good at. Some are gifted with their hands, their minds, their imagination. Some are gifted academically. But the pathways have to be created for them to choose, and that requires mentorship. And so a lot more needs to be done nationally to help our youth understand what they're good at. And also realize the fact that young people transition from all different backgrounds, but also their entire life is evolutionary, and therefore they need to have choice throughout.
Yes. And I want to talk to Professor Charles here about that. So what he says about the transitions and young people having different skills and all of that. So when you hold things like career fairs, like the one you had earlier, what do you talk to prospective students about? You know, in terms of, you might have this skill, you might have this knowledge, and therefore this is the appropriate sort of training and course for you. Do you have those kinds of interactions with students to help them or make better choices, informed choices as to the courses that they are going to take up?
We do have. We have had meetings in the TVET institutions when we go for this curriculum development, and we meet trainers as well as the student, and also meet also some employers together. And they have appreciated. One thing which I've noticed of late is that private sector has really appreciated to be involved in government activity, which they were never. When last 2 weeks when we had a meeting at Kenya School of Monetary Studies, over 400 employers came. Over 400. That shows that the number has been increasing. In fact, when we started the curriculum in 2016, it was coming 50, then it jumped to 100, 200, 300. Now everyone is coming. And we are talking to them about the issue of collaboration with the government in terms of training and how they can avail also their places for the internship so that we can make work integrated learning better. But also one thing which we have not done and I think we need to do is to visit secondary schools. This is something which we need. I think it will be more effective.
At a time when students are about to do their
about cases here, the final year. We talk to them and we tell them exactly what, because now any information they have is through other people like those students we talk to. But we need actually to make an effort to start visiting the secondary schools. And there will be a very, very big impact. And also this kind of program. People are watching. It's very effective.
In terms of this. Mr. Frederick, with an increase in the number of enrollments of students, obviously you're going to have a bit of challenges in terms of perhaps infrastructure, equipment, and facilities in general. Do you have some of these at RVTTI, and how have you addressed those challenges?
Thank you. Now, normally we have, we used to have, there was CASP fund, and then there was the Devotra. Then now there are a group of people, I think, to China. So we, in our place, we have the infrastructure, we have the equipment, we have working auto garage, which is a public auto garage. People bring their vehicles, and we use it for internship. Even our students go there for those facilities. But now I cannot talk about the other institutions because there are some young institutions that are coming up.
Okay, but with the ones that you have, is there an imbalance between the number of students that you have that should be trained in some of the equipment that you have then for that?
No, I think we just have enough.
You have enough?
Yeah, we have enough students for that.
What is the number of students in your institution?
The total number of students in the institution?
Yes.
We are around 7,000. It's going high because of...
wow. Yeah. At Eldoret alone?
In RVTTI itself, not Eldoret.
So there's one in Nakuru, I think?
That is Arvist.
Oh, that's Arvist.
Yeah.
So RVTTI Eldoret is just 7,000?
7,000 students.
Wow.
That
is, has it grown over the years as a PSOC?
Yeah, it's grown so much.
Okay.
We used to, we had 2,000, 3,000 some, I think 7 years ago.
All right.
So
and what is the transition like in terms of perhaps students who've graduated before from your institution or the ones who've gone to universities and attained, say, masters, PhDs? Do we have some of them coming back to your institution to acquire some of these skills?
There's some, but mostly we have, they go and come back as teachers. They come as teachers because some of them, we have some few students at Toyota Kenya.
Yes.
In Eldoret, the Wasingishu government also sponsors students. And then when they graduated, the governor employed some of them. And also gave them tenders now. They are give them tenders. So you find that we as they go out, we churn out and they...
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's just cut the discussion short and go to Malindi, where Kevin Mutai is with the Abaskule of the Kenya Red Cross, just talking to the victims of the 2018 floods down there, who perhaps had their households and all their belongings swept by the floods. And the recovery is going on right now in certain parts of the country. Red Cross and the government have been building new houses for them and setting up their lives afresh. And that's, I think, what's happening right now in Malindi in Kilifi County, where Kevin Mutai is. Kevin?
Well, thank you so much, Nyabola. We are coming to you live again from Malindi. As I said earlier, we are following up on this reconstruction of the houses belonging to the flood victims in both Tana River and Kilifi counties. And remember, as I said before, the government gave the Kenya Red Cross Society whooping 1 billion shillings to take care of that particular issue. And remember, the reconstruction exercise is currently ongoing. And yesterday, we visited a couple of areas within Magarini constituency. We spoke spoke to victims there, and they highlighted a couple of issues that, of course, have raised questions. And here with me is the Secretary General of the Kenya Red Cross, Abbas Gulet, who just to give us an update of what they are doing on the ground, the current situation, and of course to update us on the plans they are having to make sure that all the affected victims are taken care of. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. Can you just please give us a brief update on the 1 billion shillings allocated by the government to take care of the as compensation to the victims of flood across the country?
So this money was given to us about a year ago, April last year, and it was money we learned later from the contingency fund, which had to be used very quickly. We had set 600 million shilling aside for the construction of shelters in 26 counties out of the 48 counties. 38 counties were affected or impacted by the floods. So 26 counties got this assistance. And the rest of the other counties are counties that are, we did, so 600 million for shelter construction, 150 million for health, and about 100 million for water, or the other way around. So the number of houses we are constructing in the 26 counties is, sorry for the noise, the number of houses they are constructing is 5,700. Of the 5,700, 1,800 are in Tana River, and about 900 are in Kilifi County. So we're going to go to Magarini, to Garashi, where we have a number of houses. The other area was in Gongoni. So primarily we're building homes for these people at the cost of 100,000 Kenyan shillings. Some individuals are adding their own money to even make it slightly bigger. But really these are semi-permanent houses as opposed to the mud huts that many of them had before. We hope and pray that with the next rains about to come, that this time around the houses will not be washed away.
There's also a situation where some of them are appealing for food items. They're complaining that the current situation that is affecting them because they lost most of their crops to the floods. What are you doing to take care of that?
So for the flood victims, it's not true to say that, it's a year ago. They have been assisted with food for almost a whole year. We then had, of course, a short rainy season last year that maybe did not do well. But the people cannot be permanently on food handouts, and we can't be giving them food permanently because we didn't have that provision for food in that. It was done the first 6 months. Then we constructed the homes. The rains came in October last year, and some may have farmed, some may not have farmed. But primarily, we have done what we had to do in health, in water, and in shelter. And the bigger one is shelter. 5,700 homes in 26 counties. If you just imagine the logistics of it is mind-boggling, but we've been able to do already over 4,400 houses are ready. The rest are almost in completion in the next week or two. So we would have fulfilled what we had to fulfill because Kenyans have been asking what has the money been done with, and the bulk of the money, 600 million, went just into shelters, apart from the water in number of counties, 14 counties, and apart from the health services also that we provided during the emergency. Yes, even here in Malindi, what you may see behind, you may see some equipment that were brought in during the floods emergency.
Well, of course, we visited some of the areas yesterday, like Mapotea, and we were told that there are over 3,000 victims there, and only 200 managed to get part of the funds to reconstruct the houses. Can you just briefly tell us how you were able to come up with the process to identify those victims who benefited from the
problem
funds?
With our country is we can always create a need, and we can always say we're all affected. But primarily, the houses that we constructed were with the understanding and support of the local government, the central government, and the local leadership, people whose homes were washed away, literally, okay? But now when people have seen others are getting these beautiful shelters, everyone now has a claim that I also need to get one. So the figures, everyone needs a better housing in this country, not only here in Kilifi, but in most parts of the country. And these are very rural villages you might have seen yesterday. So, of course, what is constructed looks good, looks, more decent. And, of course, people have the right to claim. But as in respect to the floods, those who are genuinely, whose homes are washed away, have been assisted. Yes.
Well, thank you so much. That was the Kenya Red Cross Secretary General Abbas Gulet just giving us an update on the ongoing reconstruction of the houses belonging to flood victims in both Kilifi and Tana River counties. We will be going out in the fields together, and we will be updating our viewers on what will be happening as soon as we get the updates. Back to you, Edmond.
Thank you so much, Kevin Mutai, live from Malindi. Let's go now to the Milimani Law Courts, where the High Court has lifted a 20-kilometer restriction barrier imposed on the governor of Homa Bay County, that's Okoth Obado. This is as a result of the court proceedings from the murder of Sharon Otieno, a university student, sometime last year. And Seth Olale can now talk to us about that.
Well, basically, Justice Lesit has allowed the Migori governor, that is Okoth Obado, to travel within Homa Bay County. Remember that an earlier ruling, or actually the time when Governor Okoth Obado was freed on bond, he was not allowed to actually access Homa Bay County. In fact, the court set a 20-kilometer restriction, or rather barrier, for the governor not to access the border between Migori and Homa Bay County, arguing that it is indeed in Homa Bay County where the scene of the crime is situated. And so the court was very clear that the governor was not supposed to go anywhere near Homa Bay County, where the late Sharon Otieno, a university student, a former university student for Rongo University, was actually found murdered, implicating the governor alongside 2 other suspects who have since been detained in remand prison. And so today's ruling actually is slight of a win in terms of access for the governor, who actually made an application seeking the court to allow him to access Homa Bay County, arguing that out of the 8 constituencies in Migori County, 5 border Homa Bay County, and so he argued that he cannot serve his constituents effectively because he's only restricted to within Migori County. And so he sought the court's intervention, claiming that it has really cost him in terms of service delivery to his constituents, because 5 out of the 8 constituency in Migori County, 5 of those border Homa Bay County. And so the court, the High Court, led by Justice Jesse Lesit, made that determination and made that ruling today, and allowing Governor Okoth Obado to actually access Homa Bay County. And also the governor himself, Okoth Obado, had also argued that the restriction had actually incurred extra cost for him, because he was just leaving Nairobi to Migori to and fro, and that particular arrangement actually was costing him financially, and he had to dig deeper into his pocket. But this particular ruling comes as a relief for the governor, who is also implicated together with personal aid, that is Michael Oyamo, and also the Migori County Clerk, Kaspal Obiero. The 3 have been charged with murder, or rather they were charged for murdering the late Sharon Otieno, a former university student at Rongo, and this particular case is ongoing. What we know is that the governor was freed on bond, but all the other bond terms remain the same. It is only the restriction order has been lifted by the High Court, and it will be interesting to see how this particular case goes on in the coming days when it resumes. But that is what we can report for now at this particular moment, is that Governor Okoth Obado can indeed now access Homa Bay County, where he was restricted from moving due to the 20-kilometer restriction barrier that was set by the High Court earlier on.
Thank you so much, Seth Olale, live from the Milimani Law Courts, where the High Court has lifted a 20-kilometer barrier and restriction on Migori Governor Okoth Obado within Homa Bay County. Let's go back to our panel discussing technical vocational education training within the country, the reforms, and what the numbers look like right now. But PS, you've just informed me that the number of students who attained C+ and above university grades and opted for TVET institutions is 597. Been growing up from 70. So that's the latest from early 2019, that's right, this year. That's correct. All right, let me come to you, Japheth. A lot of students, when they go to these institutions to train, whether university, TVET institutions, or whatever kind of institution there is, they worry about employment. will I get a job? This course that I am doing, how is it out there in terms of the opportunities that there are? How was the experience for you in terms of just, you know, getting into the job market? And did you have to tarmac, as Kenyans say, for a long time, out of your training?
To me,
yes.
I did not tarmac.
Okay.
I went straight away to the company, but I think I worked for 1 week.
Okay.
1 week. Then I decided to get self-employed. Yeah. Comparing what I used to be paid there and what I could earn, so it could make sense.
Was this after an internship of some sort with a placement from the institution that you were in?
There is something I told you earlier. From the school NTTI, Nairobi Technical,
yes,
I could repair a car directly from the school without getting a test. Yeah.
So going forward, are you thinking of maybe setting up your own station, or do you think the skills that you have would be better used in the setup of employment or self-employment?
Yeah. Sometimes back, I used to have a big garage, but to me, it was not making sense.
Okay.
I decided to have what you call motor vehicle clinic, where I deal with complicated cars, where somebody has decided to repair but is not working.
All
So
right.
I repair those kind of cars.
All right.
Yeah. So when you come there, I give you the budget. This is how we're going to do it. Whether 1 minute, you give me 100,000. Yeah, something like that.
So you're actually comfortable?
I'm very comfortable. In fact, I want to advise anyone to get employed. It's
All
really
right.
wastage of time. The people I left working in the company,
yes,
they are far more, I'm ahead of them.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Let's.
Maybe I can explain exactly why.
Okay.
What he says. You know, these are some of the things which have made us to start competence-based. You know, the competence itself has knowledge, skills, and attitude. Now, most people who are out, the garages, so you know them, this Chuakali, they only know the skill, they have the skills. They are not able to understand why certain things happen the way they are.
Okay.
Now, he may understand, so he can be able to solve the more complicated, what he calls complicated issues, because he has got the competence.
All right.
So that's why he's very comfortable in solving that. And that is the advantage of having competence-based curriculum, where someone is whole. And he knows how to deal with people because of the attitude.
All right.
Yeah.
But PS, final comments. Of course, with the measures that you've put in place and the reforms and the investment that you've put in place, you're going to see the numbers go up and up and up. You're talking about 190,000. You're saying your target is 400,000 at some stage. Increase in numbers largely means you're going to have to also, you know, top up in terms of investment, building some of these institutions, equipping them appropriately. What is the government's plan going forward with regard to that?
It's true that there'll be an overwhelming interest in TVET going forward, primarily because of its importance in development and its strategic positioning towards the achievement of the Big Four. We're expecting that within the next 5 years that the enrollment will increase to 1 million young people within TVET institutions. This will require a lot more infrastructure, equipment, and training capacity. It'll require a collective effort. County governments are expected to provide greater access to lands, support us and complement national government's efforts in terms of scholarships and other kinds of programs and structures. We're also expecting the productive sector to play a much larger role. There's, of course, a huge deficit. Currently, our department runs on 15 billion Kenya shillings. It's expected that this full blown-out system will cost us approximately 64 billion Kenya shillings, and that'll require a collective effort. But the case for investment is that it's a value proposition for productivity, innovation, efficiency. It's indeed the fastest way for government to receive funding back, because once a person is trained and is into industry, they pay tax.
All right.
And so it's a collective outcome. I would also like to mention that as part of the transformation, today's technical vocational training institution has outcomes of skills development, upskilling, continuous professional development, incubation, creating ideas, enterprise creation, where we're focused on If it's a farm, creating a farm manager for tomatoes,
All right.
thereby scaling the possibility. If it's automotive, a workshop manager,
All right.
thereby promoting the possibility of enterprise. Innovation, promotion of science, technology, and innovation. And most of all, you know, and above all, you know, the alignment to community needs. Technical vocational training institutions are there to serve the community.
All right. All right. Mr. Frederick, final comments. You know, technology is rapidly changing. Today we are talking about manual or automatic cars. Tomorrow we are talking about electric cars. You're talking about, you know, 5Gs being rolled out in different countries right now. The US and South Korea are all that. It means there's a lot of changes in some of the things you train your students on. As someone who's been trained by them and someone who trains students, do you think there is need for you know, consistent training on your part from the people who drive this agenda and to your students, as a final comment?
Yeah, I think in the Tibet Act, there's a trainer is supposed to go for an in-service or an attachment,
yes,
to the industry once in 3 years. Yes, and as a trainer, I've been to DT Dobby, I've been to CMC. Then now Toyota Kenya the other day. So if it is implemented, I think you have to do it, because we are training people who are going to the field.
Yes.
And the thing we are talking about here is that the needs of the industry.
And they keep changing.
And they keep changing
yes.
and rapidly, because we used to have carburetor. And for a long time, our assessment or exams that we do and the curriculum, we used to train on carburetor. I believe Japheth went through carburetor, and it came in the exam.
All right.
This time we have the EFI, we have the BBTI, and we have many other improvements on even the braking system. Not only even the braking system, the suspension system. So there is need for
consistent
trainers
going
to
forward.
Continual.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Unfortunately, we cannot continue because of time right now. Thank you so much for the discussion we've had today on technical and vocational education and training within Kenya, the reforms and the investment the government has put in place to ensure that young Kenyans who want to train through these institutions, and even Kenyans who've trained in the past in certain areas of specialization, can still go back to some of these institutions to get more training. Dr. Kevit Desai, the Principal Secretary for the State Department for Vocational and Technical Training, Professor Charles Undieki, who is the Chairman of the TVET Certification Council. We had Japheth Mwanzia, Automotive Alumni at the Nairobi Technical Training Institute, as well as Mr. Frederick Obiero, who is an automotive engineering trainer at Rift Valley Technical Training Institute. Thank you so much for your time, gentlemen. We come to the end of the show this morning. We exit the studio to make way for NTV Sasa with Kaltun Jama and Harith Salim in a short while. Don't go too far. Enjoy the rest of your day.